joining in. All right. So at this point, I will like to hand over to Mr. Praise for Wowe. Thank you very much for convening this all important. I'm excited for this new program and I'm looking forward to hearing all you have to say this evening.
Thank you very much, Ne. Good to see everyone. I don't believe we're all having a great time. We're not going to take your time at all, and so we don't do African time. I hope you can all hear me. Am I clear? I hope you can hear me. You can see me.
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm so excited. Okay, I can see Biola Hosseini, El Kubi. All right. Thank you very much. I love to recognize men when I see them in meetings like this because they hardly show up. So thank you. And all the men and our women who are here. Right. So the meeting is divided into like short parts, like three. I'll go and share a few things and then we will have an interview session, then I'll wrap it up and then we'll take questions. Now, we're talking about the future of African kids in the diaspora. And there are a couple of things, we do this from time to time, that we need to bring to your notice as parents, as stakeholders, because I believe that if we all say it all the time where we work, that you can't do one definition of insanity is doing things the same way and expecting a different result. But you may not know that you are repeating history if you don't step aside and pay attention to what's going on. I mean, I look at my children. I have a 17-year-old, and then I have a 14-year-old daughter. And I look at them. I remember when they were younger. They were way back in Nigeria, in Africa. Now they are in North America. I see what they're saying. I see what their friends are saying. The other day, one of my sons, old friends, I was having a chat with the mother, and then the boy was asking me, what if I don't want to be a Christian? What if I don't believe God exists? And this was a boy that got to America two years ago. All right. And so I know that parents are worried about what they say and what they hear. But the agenda is much more than that. That if we don't begin to have the right conversation and put the right structures and systems in place, then we do not have a right to complain about what the future holds. So I will share a couple of research I have made. I actually spoke to one of my mentors. It's a white guy strategist, one of the people I respect the most. And then he was taking me through some things in history, which I'm going to share with us, which I believe will open our eyes. Then we'll take an interview with Sandra. The interview with Sandra is basically to help us understand how the social services work and what we need to do not to fall into the trap wherein they have to take away your child and give your child away to someone else, and what you need to do should that happen. Because we are getting a lot of calls from our people. Oh, I spanked my child went to school, reported, or the child didn't even report. There is a way they can intentionally ask questions, leading questions that will put you in trouble. And so if we don't intentionally help our children understand the higher agenda, because I say out here that the system pretends that they love your child more than you. And once that happens, once your child buys into that agenda that, oh, these people love me more than my parents or more than my mom or more than my dad, the game is over. Now, I'll just quickly run through my presentation and then we'll do the interview with Sandra. Now, I don't know how many of you know this parable. This is a parable or a story that I first read many years ago. And then there's a book, Second Revolution by Dr. Sam Adeyemi, where I also read the story again. It's the story of our dear elephant who was tied to a tree. And every time they brought food to this elephant, day after day, as the elephant stretches to stretch to take the food, they move the food farther away. All right, the elephant will stretch again at the point of almost getting there, they'll move the food farther away. And then after several trials, the elephant stopped trying and then will never reach out, started literally on going on hunger strike. Now, after a couple of days, they actually removed the chain from the leg of the elephant, but the elephant still did not move beyond that spot. Even though the elephant is now free physically, the elephant was still mentally bound and did not move. And this is a research that has been done again and again. There was a similar research that was done at the University of Columbus, Ohio, wherein they had a couple of mice inside a cage, and then every time they sprayed berries and they tried to eat the berries, they shocked them with electricity, and they did that again and again, such that the mere perceiving the odor of berries sent them on they had this electric shock. They made them to mate, gave birth to children. Their children experienced the same thing every time they perceived the odor of berries till the fourth generation. It was the fifth generation that didn't have that experience. Now, what this says is that trauma can be transferred from generation to another. And so, one of the things we need to begin to ask ourselves as parents is that what kind of trauma was transferred to us and what trauma are we transferring to our children? We're not the first set of Africans that are going to be living in the diaspora, and we're not going to be the last. But then the first generation that lived in the diaspora, who were they? We all knew. They were people that left Africa against their will. They were sold into slavery. But what happened to them? Right? We were not sold into slavery. Some of us were born here. Some of us migrated here. What are the similarities that we need to pay attention to? Because if we don't crack this code and intentionally walk our way out of it, our children are going to repeat exactly the same thing. And so there's a concept called neuroassociative conditioning. Please pay attention. We're going to send the recording to you so that you can listen to it over and over again. Neuroassociative conditioning, we use that in therapy, and we say is a framework that was created that says that when you experience something that is pleasurable, your brain longs for looks for the source of the pleasure and longs for a repeat performance. Once you do it again, a neural line is formed from the pleasure to your brain. The more you do it, neural lines are formed. This is exactly how addictions happen, right? After a while, you just be on autopilot. I'm not going to masturbate again. God, if I masturbate or do porn, kill me. But then you find yourself after 72 hours, you're back in there, right? And so as it's used positively, it's also used negatively. And so as parents, raising children, we need to understand that there are activities our children are associated with that if we are not paying attention to the greater agenda, we would see them, they will do it when they say, they are supposed to prepare for exam. Some of them are on their games. When they wake up in the morning and it's time for prayers, they're on their game. After prayers, they're on their game. When they are going to the school, they're on the game, right? And then if we are not asking the right question, say, what is the greater agenda? Is it that that's what they find pleasure in? No, that's not what they find the pleasure in. The thing is, where are these games being manufactured? Where are they being created? They are being created by South Koreans, Japanese, and Chinese. Now, the things that our children are doing, the Japanese don't do it. They are very disciplined. The Chinese are very disciplined, right? But then they are creating those games. So the agenda, the question is, are these things just being created because it creates fun, or is also a greater agenda of distraction, knowing fully well that if you are distracted, what it should take you 1 hour to do might take you like 5 hours. But follow me, I'm going somewhere. So right now as it stands, this is the typical industry dominance in the diaspora. Whether you're in the UK, whether in Europe, you are in Canada, you are in America, whatever part of the diaspora you are in, this is the industry dominance in all those countries. The Jews dominate finance, real estate, law, and academia in all those countries. Indians dominate retail, tech, medicine, and hospitality. Chinese dominate manufacturing, wholesale, and restaurant. Africans dominate healthcare, not just healthcare. The healthcare we dominated the most is the one that is care driven, not the conventional where we have people, super doctors, but the care is where we have our dominance, as it were. Now, we also they said we dominate religion. Of course, we know that. I mean, they said the richest pastors, three of them are top 10 are in Africa, right? And then so you can see when we do our meetings, whether whatever meeting we do is always packed, right? I'm sure some of us in Canada, we just finished attending one. Those of us in America, we attended another one last week. So our meetings are always packed. And there is what we can use that to do. Education. We are the largest, most educated minority in America. I know it's not totally different in Canada as well, and they can be different in the UK because many people migrated to UK. They migrated as a result of education. Music, Afrobeat is everywhere. Now, you know what that means? We are the entertainment capital of the world. Now, wherever there's entertainment, entertainment is also conditioning, a form of conditioning. Once you have entertainment, what you have there is drugs, what you have there is sex, what you have there is booze, right? And so if we are the entertainment capital of the world, it means that the people who are the entertainers, the Afrobeat people, I don't know which of them, if you look at their lifestyle, you want your children to become like. We love to dance to them. I mean, or is it the one that, every time he's talking, he's always with one wrap of marijuana. It's almost as if he cannot grant any interview without any wrap of marijuana. I mean, I respect their talent, but I don't know which of them you want your children to be like, as it were, right? And so this is the reality. Now, they are saying that why is it that they're wondering, trying to know, why is it that Africans don't dominate in the diaspora? And they said there are about 5 reasons. They said number 1 is late immigration wave. That with all the noise about Africans migrating, we're still building generational capital. So maybe some of us are first generation from our family abroad or second generation. I'm not sure there is anybody on this call who is like a 5th generation migrant already. I'm not sure if there's any. If you are here, you can type I, right? But maybe we're like 2nd, 3rd generation. But the Jews have been here, the Chinese have been here for heaven. Number 2, political distrust and cultural difference. That the way many of us who migrated from Africa, the same way we don't trust our political leaders is still the same way we still don't trust the ones here, right? One day somebody was, one of the people in our community in America that had met, that had supported, was at my door at 3 a.m. Right? Apparently, she had become homeless and was having some issues, and then showed up at my door because I was like the community leader for many of the people here, right? And I said, you can't come into my house at this time, okay? We will get money for you to go and rent an hotel. And then so we arranged money. I called a few of the people in our community. They sent money to her, and then she still did not go. But I live in a very, my area is almost like a military area. Before they knew it, police was knocking on my door to say, oh, we got from CCTV. Do you know this person? I said, I know her from so they had to take her away eventually, But you see, I was looking at that situation. The first thing is when I saw police in America, my brain flew off because I hated my relationship with police in Nigeria was a bad relationship. So anything that represented police force, I didn't see them as protective. I just saw them as, these people, and it's because of my experience. It's the same way if I ask us here, for example, how many of us are politically active? I don't know how many of us are active politically, that you are really, really, really active in any party in America or Canada or the UK. If I ask us, how many of us have gone to our local council meeting? You've gone to watch their proceeding. The ones here, they do it every Thursday. How many of us have gone to observe what they're doing? How many of us know the people who actually control things in our county, right? You will realize that we are naturally not interested in that because, there is a software in our head that says that politics is bad, right? And so we don't really, really pay attention. Number 3 is the sparse geography. That is hard to build political base because Africans don't live in the same area. That Africans are too spread apart, right? So if you go to Houston, I didn't know what made me think that the number of Africans in Houston are up to 1 million. I was actually shocked to know that there are about 200,000 in Houston area, right? I thought there were more than that. And Houston is one of the most populated areas where you find Africans, right? Dallas, I didn't know that we're just like maybe the Nigerians in Dallas are like 50,000 or less than that, right? And so we are not a people who are very intentional about living like Indians. If you go to Brampton in Canada, Indians are the ones who are there. If you go to Frisco right now, Indians are buying up everything. So it's hard to build a political base because you can't even win an election because your people are not majority in any area, right? Everybody is wherever work is, that's where we go. So we don't concentrate in a particular area. And even right now, I'm reading a report that Nigerian president went to Japan, and Japanese government is saying they're designating an area where they will call the Nigerian territory in Japan, and people are excited. I started laughing. I said they've gotten these people. They don't understand what is going on, right? They've given you a place where they can monitor your activities, and then you can't gain power, if they keep you in that area. You need to find a way to mix somehow and infiltrate. Number 4 is focus on economic mobility. Politics is not seen as an immediate priority for many of us, and justifiably so. Your bill is not smiling. The way the months run very fast right now, it's almost as if there is an agenda against us, right? It's that time of the month. You've got to pay mortgage, you've got to pay this, you've got to pay that. And so anywhere job you find where to survive, that's where you go. Number 5 is lack of political and PSCs and media. So we are less visible, and then we don't have that influence. Now, having said that, I'm looking up what Africans are poised to dominate. The areas we're going to dominate in the diaspora from all the reports available. And these are the core areas. They said, 1, we're going to dominate faith infrastructure. African led churches are going to become more dominant religious hubs across black communities in the West. Now, this ideally should be an asset if we know how to convert it, right? To know that our auditoriums, for example, can be used for after school, right? Such that the parents who are busy, their churches can organize programs that parent your children in your absence, and then you can go and pick up your child. So all the values that you want in your child, it's going to be instilled in that place because it's manned by Africans who genuinely care about our people. But I don't know anybody, any church that is an African church that does that. We don't seem to be really, really interested in. So we're still doing things the same way things are done. The synagogues, for example, it looks like a religious center, but at the back end, there's a strong political movement, a strong economic force. The rate at which those guys give themselves loans, the way they stimulate Jewish businesses, the way the Indians stimulate Indian businesses, religion can be used for that, but we're not doing that yet. We hope that some of our pastors can really, really be open-minded about these things. Number 2 is cultural export. Afrobeat, African fashion, Nollywood content, Afro-diasporic education models are booming right now. So our children are now going to classes where they're learning, how to speak their local language. Then coaching and personal development and mental health. That's where I function. It's coming up. Educational startups. African-born founders are beginning to invest in platforms to tutor, mentor, and coach both Western and African audiences. I'm sure some of us have children on IXL and those things, even though those ones were not founded by Africans, but people are learning to play in that space. Follow me, I'm going somewhere. The global cultural projection, remember we're talking about the future of African kids in the diaspora, says that this is the projection in 2040. Europe will most likely lose its traditional culture. So it means Europe is available for the taking right now. North America will retain some aspect, but will be highly globalized. I mean, with the movement of other people, now they're trying to chase the Hispanics away from some of the illegal immigrants. That's the agenda of our president in America, but it's going to change. The balance of power will shift at some point. Now, South America and Middle East, mixed outcome, but still holding on to tradition. Asia and Africa will have the cultural struggle that will shape the future. Please note this. It's not my word. This is global projection. Asia and Africa cultural strongholds will shape the future. So it means that by 2045, Europe and North America will struggle to define their cultural identity, while Africa and Asia will be the dominant cultural influencers of the world. Question is, now that many of our children don't want to associate with African culture, how are we going to fulfill this one, right? When even some of us parents don't even, our accent changes, even our skin color is changing. The bleaching industry, actually, if you check the statistics, right, is heavy. I mean, Africans are dominating when it comes to investment in the bleaching industry, right? And so this is what they are saying. Now, every prophecy from I see Apostle Selma this afternoon, and he was alluding to the same thing. That is the African era. And God is up to something, but we must be ready. Now, they are talking about prophecy, they are not talking about us. We are the ones to midwife the process. They are talking about our children. But then we need to be ready. But guess what? As we are living ready, what I'm realizing the West is doing is that they are also going back to our land to buy up some of our people, fund their startups, and then, see the conversation about GMO in Africa, for example, it's so heavy. Bill Gates is investing massively. Some of our influencers, they're already on his payroll, and all kinds of things are happening, right? But then every prophecy is saying it is the African era. God is up to something, but we must be ready. But guess what? Prophecies don't fulfill themselves. They are made happen by taking responsibilities. Since the time I was born, they have been telling us Africa is going to be great. Since the time I was born. In fact, if someone had told me that at 47, Nigeria will still not have become the giant of the world, I would almost swear for the person that it's not possible. But then by acts of irresponsibility, nothing is happening. In fact, maybe we have grown worse. So it is the African era, and God is up to something. So every time these prophecies come out, and I'll give you an example which I always give. One Diwali was done in Plano, and then the Indian community brought in an Indian guru, an equivalent of, who can I compare that man to in Africa? Pastor Adeboye. He had that following. They brought him to Plano, and the man stood in their meeting, packed, and he said he consulted their god, Lord Shiva, and the Lord Shiva says that there are two places that Indians will prosper in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, DFW area, for those of you who live here, right? And then guess the area, Plano and Frisco, right? The guy did not say Arlington. He did not say Mansfield. Plano and Frisco. Plano and Frisco are the high end of, the new money in, DFW, right? The guy did not call those funny places. He called the most economically viable places. And guess what? By the following week, Indians moved there and they started buying properties. They started buying up the schools. They literally own many of the things in there right now. Now, so if it is the era of Africa and God is up to something, the question you should be asking is it's not what must we do. The first question I'm asking as a strategist is, what is the agenda that can derail us? What are the templates they have used to hold us bound? And so I went to meet one of my mentors. He's in his it's now about 79 years old right now. But it's someone who has a heart in Africa, who we gist. And so I was asking him to say, okay, from what you know, if an African wants to scale, or if Africa as a continent wants to scale, put yourself as a strategist hired to stop the scale. What are the 5 things you're going to do, right, to ensure that it never happens, right? And so I will share the 5 things, then we will take an interview with Sandra, then I'll come and tell us about 4 things we need to do as parents. If you are still with me, can you type yes? If you are still here, can you type yes? Let me see. Let me be sure we're still here. Okay, Ogochukwu, thank you very much. Who else is here with me? Okay, Nene is here. Last name, Joseph IT. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I just need to be sure that we are all here. Now, so I asked him, what are the 5 things you will do if you will stop the greatness of African children in the diaspora? Now, the first thing he said to me is that, number 1, I will corrupt their identity before they discover it. Right? And so Booker T. Washington says, if you can convince a man is inferior, you do not need to compel him to accept an inferior status. He will do it himself. Right? And so, if there is a system that will corrupt their identity before they discover it, so how will they go about that? So I was looking at the past and modern future blueprint, and what they are saying is, we'll flood African diaspora children with diluted media. erase indigenous heroes from their global curricula, glamorize assimilation, make them ashamed of their names, accents, and parents, and push narrative that says success is becoming less African. Does that sound familiar to us? Right? I'm sure you know someone who left Africa and doesn't want to have anything to do with Africa again. Say, I'm done with that. In fact, I was looking at a footballer, Taribo West. He said, I cannot convince my children to play for Nigeria. They will not even step foot on the soil of Nigeria because of the way they treated Peter Rufai. Excuse me. What he failed to tell us was that he made a lot of money when he was playing abroad. What did he do with the money? Carrying girls. Now he's broke. He's saying Nigeria should take care of him. Right? But this is very important. So if you are living in a household where this is already happening, this is the first strategy that usually knocks, because, I mean, think of it historically. What did they give our forefathers that made them sell their brothers to slavery? Mirror. Mirror. They were looking at themselves in the mirror. See us, right? Shiman Shinap. Shiman Shinap, right? That's where the things like, I mean, it's inconceivable what a man will do to sell it. They just made them feel inferior. What has made them kill our, I mean, I was having a conversation on social media the other day about African herbs, right? When I was younger, if I had the boil, you know what my mother asked me to do? She asked me to put my hair and remove part of my hair wax and put it on the boil. It dried up immediately. I still use it till tomorrow and it works. I don't know the scientific whatever, maybe it's placebo, but it's worked since I was a child. So when I put it on social media, a lot of people now started sharing their own. Now, someone is going to come to tell us that, oh, that is the cause of cancer, and so stop it. And so our people will be taught to be suspicious. See our skin color. Our skin color is so good that it can function in any weather. But then somebody is going to be told, oh, do boob job, do this job, do, and I'm not against those things. If it works for you, you know, check your skin, tone your skin, your name. Check. I know some of our people who have literally changed their names out here to American names. And I'm asking them, why did you change your name? They say, you know, you need to get to some places. You need to change your name. But how did Alibaba get into places, right? How did some of these other guys, Yokohama, Yamaha, how did they get into spaces, right? And so people are going to be told all kinds of things, right? And so if you look at when we do Black Month, whatever, we don't see any African heroes there, right? So this is the number one thing he said he's going to do. Let's go to number two. He said number two thing is you distract them with success, not systems. The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. That's Audre Lorde. Now, what does this mean really? Celebrate individual African success, but demonize collective organizing. Reward hustle, but block system building. Elevate celebrities, not family architects. I would make sure their success doesn't build anything transgenerational. You know, so what is happening is, oh, when they say the first African to become an accountant in, we are excited, hey, hooray! You know, in the colonial era, they say, muso, 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 muso. That's the way they were doing it, right? So we are excited. Oh, wow, see the African brother. He just see what Tyler Perry is doing. We are excited about individual pockets of individual, the operas, the Kobe Bryants, we are excited about individual success. But how does this translate to collective success? How do we ensure that Sandra has succeeded at one thing, we are studying her success, and then we create a curriculum to replicate it in our community? So that in 10 years, we have 1,000 of Sandras. How do we ensure that when IT gets into Microsoft, and she's the only Black manager in Microsoft, we support her, and then she opens the door, learns the system, that within 10 years, we have 20 Black managers, African managers in Microsoft. But you know what IT is going to do? IT will say, how did you do it? You say, it's just God, oh, it's God that made it happen, right? God did it, oh, God be the glory. So IT is comfortable for all of us to be coming to her, and then she's giving us stipends, rather than showing us the way. In fact, you know what begins to happen? IT is they're going to send her to trainings. The training will so radicalize her that IT is now the one that will be blocking the road, like our sister in the UK is doing, right? She completely forgot that she grew up in Africa, right? So see everything she's saying, right? She's even saying what the white man will not say, right? To say that, they can't come from their shithole country and come and destroy our country. You are wondering, what is this? What is this country that she's talking about, right? And so the effect is the people will clap, but their community will remain vulnerable. That's number two. And this is already happening in our community. And so I'm telling you the things strategists will do to ensure that African children don't hold the position they should hold in the future. Number three, he said he will weaponize division and hyper individualism. Africans are easy to conquer when they forget they are a tribe. I mean, I was moved when he said that. And so you can already see that. So seed mistrust among diaspora Africans. So look at us. The other day, I saw a post on social media. I think it's Ikwere. Somebody is from Ikwere here, right? And they said that if you are from Ikwere, if you are an Ikwere person in Dallas, we are going to meet, fill this form because we are going to call a meeting. The question I ask myself is, what is the total number of Ikwere people that can be in Dallas, right? Could they have been more than up to 1 million? The answer is no. So, but you know what we are trying to do? Everybody sets up their small groups. Benin people. Even Benin and Urumi will not meet together. Ekpoma will not meet with Benin. Right? So we are Ekpoma. We are Benin people. And we feel like we even appoint someone as Igwe there, right? As king. Right? And so these pockets of meetings, our children don't even follow us for those meetings. They don't mix. And so at the end of the day, instead of having one strong African community, right, Nigeria is totally polarized. Ghana, we're still fighting Jollof. So it becomes Nigeria versus Ghana, Edo versus Igbo, Igbo versus Benin, Benin versus this one versus that one. At the end of the day, even though we look alike, we are struggling with the same thing, but we will still begin to pretend as if some slaves are higher than other slaves. So we start the fight, Christian versus Muslim, light skin versus dark skin. We are the ones who got in here early. So we have suffered. Let them suffer what we suffer. Why should they come newly and they'll be trying to pretend as if they know all things, And so we stand in the way of our own success. So it says encourage selfish pursuit over collaboration. Turn parenting into survivalism, not legacy. So if we gather here now and we say, guys, you know what we're going to do? Let's buy one high-rise, right? So that we can take power in Dallas downtown, right? Don't tell anybody. Somebody here, we go and tell the people we want to take out and say, give me some money. I'll be feeding you in with whatever they are happening in their meeting, right? And so effect is they will have talent but lack trust and genius without unity. And number 4, it says undermine mental health and family stability. If you destroy the nest, the eagles cannot fly again. And he shared a story with me. That did I notice that what they did when they took slave trade, during slave trade era, was that when the family arrived in America, or wherever they took them to, they separated father from mother from children. That there were families that never saw their parents again till they died. He said, Praise, you know why that was done? I said, why? He said it's because once you separated them like that, their history is gone. So fathers cannot, and once your history is gone, so you understand what the Black Americans are going through. When we say they are aggressive, when we say they are angry, because many of them don't even know where their history is. They don't know, right? And so it says use hyper-individualistic culture, career pressure, and unprocessed trauma to fracture homes. Normalize absentee parenting, busy parenting, and disconnected children. Introduce digital addiction and social comparison early. Destroy emotional intelligence in boys and hypersexualize girls. So I saw Thames and I saw Arya Star the other day. I looked at that girl. My mind went back to when she started. She used to be properly dressed. Now everything is open now. shaking her waist, and people are, and then our children are watching her. They want to be like her. They love her, right? And so it says the effect that the children will rise, but fragmented, confused, and vulnerable to exploitation. So you can see how girls have been hypersexualized, right? And you see, one of the things I'm learning in my field is that data can be manipulated. This data that Africans have the highest divorce rate, I'm not sure it's correct. But that narrative has to be pushed, right? To just box us into a place. And so you can see a semblance of that. I just wrote about it in Nigeria. When one fertility clinic just came out to say 1 in 4 Nigerians is a victim of paternity fraud. 200 million people, that can never happen. And all the newspapers, media houses took it, and then they believed it. And I said, no, these people are trying to sell something, right? That's why they push this thing. I said, what is the sample space? By the time we check their website, no sample space, nothing. So instead of them to even say that, oh, based on the tests we have carried out, we have carried out 30 tests, 1 in 4, they now say Nigeria. And the West jumps on that. Before you know it, it's Google. Google is now saying that Nigeria has the second highest paternity fraud in the world. That's how these things work. Anything to make Africa look bad, right? They can fuse. In fact, I have said it before, for some of you have listened to me before. There was a mental health problem during slave trade called drapetomania. Do you know what the drapetomania means? Drapetomania was defined as the mental health problem that makes a slave want to escape from the slave master. And they were giving them injection for that mental health problem. That was classified as mental health problem. That you want to break, they came to carry you from Africa. You now want to return. They now say that's mental health problem. So the agenda and the principles are the same, right? And so the last thing there is, it said control their gateways to power. It says you may have a seat at the table, but they must not decide the menu. Leadership was tolerated as long as it serves someone else's blueprint. So you will only rise to the level to which it serves certain people, right? So when Obama became president, we were all excited, finally, a black man, but how black was he really, right? And so you can see that it was during his tenure, they now decided to be passing this LGBT, whatever. Till tomorrow now, they are blaming it on him. Why didn't they do it when Clinton was there? Why didn't they do it when the next one was there? It was him. Right? So you see all these things, the way they play out. It says allow symbolic inclusions. A few CEOs, a few generals or parliamentarians, but block institutional ownership. They will own the curriculum, media, narratives, economic structure, and spiritual spaces. So we won't own anything, right? We will be teachers, but we won't own the curriculum. We will not own CNN, but we'll go there and grant interview and now go and give testimony. I want to testify to the goodness of the Lord. Finally, I showed up on CNN. When you show up on, do you know how many news is on CNN per day? Once you show up for your 5 minutes, do you know how many other news? You have been forgotten. But then you put it on your CV. Appearance on CNN. What about owning CNN? 5 years ago, I was telling pastors in Nigeria, I said, one of the things destroying the future of our children is DSTV. I said, can we launch a takeover bid? They didn't listen to me. Guess what? DSTV was sold a couple of months ago. Who bought it? Canal France. Right? Bought it. So Canal France is going to infuse their content into it. And if you know Canal France, it is a political agenda. Right? And so our children will have more content. They will have more Big Brother, more people, more shows, or people having sex. And then they will be glued to it and they will not bother about what is going on. And then the same people will perpetuate power. Make sure they're invited to the party, but never to the planet. In fact, they will celebrate presence without power and voice without influence. So he said those are the 5 things he's going to do. Right. Now that we know these templates, I'm sure you can relate with all of this. You can already see them happening. We've seen them happen before. And it's still very much around. So see our children. Many of them have good startups ideas, but they don't have funding. Guess the people funding them. When they go for series, they put them in accelerator or incubator, and then they go to pitch. Who are the people putting the money? right? Our people will not put their money, right? Our churches have money, they will not put money in those accelerators. So those guys will put money on those eventually, then the guy is excited. They will give him the money he can't resist. To say, sell this company to us, and he's going to sell it, right? The guy is happy that he's wealthy, but then his inheritance, his God's given intelligence has been taken away from him, right? And when they are ready, they discard him. The guy is happy to be back in Africa. He's driving a Rolls Royce, but then everything is gone. So I want us to begin to reflect. And when I come back, I'll tell us what I think we need to do and what we are trying to do. At this juncture, I will welcome back Nene, and then she will have an interview with Sandra. I hope we've learned
Thank you
something
so
so far.
much.
Yeah, over to you.
Wow, there's so much to unpack there. If you have learned something new, just say I. Let me be the first to put I in the chat box there because I've been writing and still trying to. If you learned something from all what has been said today, just type in I in the chat box. Thank you so much, PF. Thank you very much. All right. For want of time, I would like to introduce our speaker, Sandra Obasoha. I'll quickly read her profile. Sandra is a seasoned cybersecurity professional, and she's also a child advocate who blends technical expertise with a heart for public service. Her journey began as a child protective service investigator, where she developed a keen eye for risk identification, investigative reporting, and policy enforcement, skills that now shape her strategic approach to cybersecurity. She continues her advocacy as a court appointed special advocate in Dallas County, fiercely championing the rights of abused and neglected children. Her work ensures that vulnerable voices are heard and protected. With years in the technical industry, Sandra brings hands on experience in IT risk, governance, risk management compliance, cloud security, and regulatory compliance, including frameworks such as the National Institute of Standard and Technology, NIST, ISO, HIPAA, PCI, DSS, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. She has a whole lot of training. She's a sought after speaker. Sandra addresses topics at the intersection of cybersecurity, child welfare, and ethical governance. Her mission is to build secure, resilient system that prioritizes both human and data profession. Wow, that's a mouthful. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, Sandra. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me just fine?
Awesome. Awesome. You're welcome. There was so much that PF has said earlier on, but I would like to ask you a couple of questions as we proceed. So from your experience, you seem to have been in this space for quite a while. What are some common cultural misunderstandings or triggers that African children face that makes them have their make the governance or make the system take the children away from their parents?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Like you stated, I'm Sandra Obasohan. I have been in the child advocacy space for over a decade now. I was actually appointed in 2015 with the Dallas County court system here. Now, what are the first thing that we see is, I think, well, I know for a fact, is especially with the new migrated families, we're so big on, we come from a different system, right? We have more of a village raising the family where we're coming from. We come here now, everybody's boxed in their space. And then you have a household where mom and dad newly relocated to a different place, and you're bringing these children from their natural habitat to a new place. With that understanding, though, everybody's trying to figure it out, right? You're having a new family, mom is on one side, dad is on the other side working, and some of this time the kids are kind of left on their own to figure it out. And so with that, you're seeing a lot of that they're not abreast with the laws. What does that look like in the new environment that they're in? Because one of the big thing is I've heard stories of, oh, you're not allowed to discipline your kids in America. And I keep asking, I said, I don't know who told you guys this. I don't know where this story came from. Because I've seen families, case in point, about during COVID, a family moved there with 4 children from Nigeria. They were pretty well off in Nigeria. As of last year, she had to go back with the 4 kids because she was frustrated. She couldn't deal with it anymore. 2 of them ended up on drugs. One of them was going in and out of the court system here, and they had to relocate back. They moved here. I don't think that that's what the family anticipated for their children, but they were overwhelmed with what they found here. And I believe the big thing is we have to start understanding our way of life is not abusing our children. Let's start from there. It's not. And you'll be very shocked, as little as a 2-year-old know the difference between abuse and discipline. And then we are being told, I was an investigator, child abuse investigator for maybe 3 years with Dallas County. And if you're in the DFW area, that is the biggest county here. And there was a lot of stuff that happened. And I know, and when I see abuse, and I'm just my son will joke around like, what we consider abuse is not, but we have been going back to what Pierre has said earlier. They have given us a narrative that we have bought into, and we're perpetrating that amongst ourselves. And everybody, oh, you talk to your child, they're going to go tell them to school. So what if they tell them to school? Let them come to your home. Our way of life is different. What does this mean? I have a 6-year-old that doesn't.
So Pierre talked about. Sorry, please go on. I didn't mean to cut you. Go on, go on.
PF talking about there's a conscious agenda there for us to lose our identity and integrate into theirs. But what we're not understanding is our children are different. We're built differently. Our lifestyle is different. You're in Nigeria where the children can play with the neighbors and all of that. Now you're bringing a child into a system where you don't even know who's next door. You cannot trust that. So we're boxing our kids in. The next thing is, oh, that child has ADHD, right? Because he cannot sit still. Why would he sit still? A child that was born to play around with his cousins, will have grandparents around. And then we're losing multi-generational households. If I'm from Nigeria, I was raised by my great-grandparents and my grandparents. So I had 4 generations growing up. How many of us are having that now in the US or in North America? We don't have that. So we have to start being able to continue to say, this is how our family structure is different. And the way that with that difference comes with a different parenting style. And we have to be able to communicate that and don't just listen to the narrative of everything's an abuse.
So you talked about, thank you very much for that, Sandra. You talked about, experiencing different cases, working as a child investigator. And it just points me back to what PF had said earlier on about parenting turning into survivalism. So from your experience, what are some rights that immigrant parents actually have should the social services suddenly show up on their doors? And what immediate steps should parents or families take if they are being investigated or reported for abusing, so to say, their kids?
First thing that I would say to any parent that is going through that is, don't run away from them. Do not. Because I think one of the fears are, oh, you heard about CPS, somebody calls CPS for a family. The first thing the family doesn't even want to allow them access. And I'll say this, I've had friends that have had issues, they'll give me a call. I've been in a person's home. When they showed up, I was there, right? And I'm telling them, okay, what's going on? Grant them access. And another thing is, grant them access in your home, not at the school. If you have that luxury. The reason that I will say this is I rather deal with problems in my home, because what happens at school is it's labeling, right? A child has an issue at school, CPS shows up at school. Guess what? All the teachers now know that this family is having issues, right? So guess what? You just made that child a scapegoat. It's like when parents go through and I tell parents this all the time, including myself. When parents go through a divorce, as much as you can, take that out of the school system as much as you can as a parent. I'm divorced, so I'm a classic example of this. Till today, my children's school, they don't know that dad and I are not together for over 5 years. That is not their problem to deal with. And how does that look like practically? When we have school function that we need to be into, I give him a call. Hey, we need to be at the school. He's there, I'm there. Our addresses is our physical address here is the same address that both of us use in the school. So that way they don't need to know all of that. That is not their issue to deal with. Because what happens is, and I've seen this over and over again.
So are there success stories of families reuniting with their kids? What's the ratio of kids being able to reunite back with their families?
Um, there are good numbers, but like I will say to you, when a child leaves your home, the child that left your home is not the same child coming back from foster care. Be aware of that. That is not the same child. And I worked over 3 years. In my experience, I was able to remove 4 children from their homes. And those 4 cases was because 2 of those children were infants that were born with drugs in their system, and those are automatic removal. What I had tried to do as a worker is I ensure that I can find a viable family members. I've put 2 children on flights, one to California because we had some relatives there that were viable enough to take this child, and I've taken another child to Mississippi. I really try to find family members because I rather
Wow.
have a child go live with an extended family member in a situation where mom and dad are trying to sort themselves out than going into the foster care system. I stand corrected. A child that goes into foster care system, if you get that child back, when you do get your child back, if at all, it's not the same child that left your home. So do we have, back to what PF was saying earlier, do we have elders in our community that when something like this happens, who can you call? Hey, I can call PF and say, PF, God forbid something is happening with the kids and I. Can you take the children for this amount of time? Can you stand in gap for that? Do we have those people standing in our community? And that's what the other communities have. We keep saying African families are breaking up. Do we think that we are the only ones that are dealing with this, moving to a different environment and having to deal with all of that? No, the Indian people are dealing with this as well. So is every other community. But the difference is they have elders that have stood up and say, these children are not going to leave our community when something happens. Mom and dad are having issues. Mom is having an issue. Well, you have a grandmother that doesn't have a criminal background, because if we're taking a child from a situation and placing it in another home, we have to make sure that we're not taking a child from a bad situation into a worse situation. So can the family members pass a background check? Do they have an abuser, a known abuser in this family? So all of those things have to be in place. And I can tell you, a lot of us are doing well. We have our ducks in a row, but are we able to stand in gap for our family friends or church members that are having issues? I've had to take kids in before. I've taken people's children in from my church. They're having issues, they give me a call. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. This child will stay with me 90 days while mom and dad is trying to sort themselves out. Because when they take your children, the goal is mom and dad have to work a couple of services to be able to get their children back, depend on the gravity of the problems. Who will stand in gap for these children when the children are stuck in these situations? And we need to start having those in our communities. And I think that will help a lot.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sandra. And from your experience, how do you think Africans in diaspora or African community in general, just like PF had earlier mentioned, what are ways that we can build collective systems, whether it's in the legal sector or in the cultural or educational sector? What are ways that we can support families at risk to reduce such kind of occurrences in the long run?
One, the biggest thing is the mistrust in our community, and I think he alluded to that as well. When people are going through stuff, and to be fair, those mistrusts come from genuine concern. Sometimes you've had issues where somebody's going through something, they tell somebody else, before you know it, nobody's found a solution, but instead that becomes the gossip of the town, right? So now, how do we deal with those mistrusts? One, and two, let us start getting involved. I was working as a worker over a decade ago. I worked there, but when I left, no, this was way back. When I left working with the state, but I still volunteer. We need to have that volunteerism attitude in our community. Everybody wants to make money, which nobody's here to, nobody, your bills, like Pierre stated earlier, your bills are every 30 days, right? But when you have to work, it doesn't take a lot to volunteer. I have been an advocate for over 10 years, and I get a case or two when I have the flexibility to do it. So let us start getting involved in the system, because the more we get involved in the system, the more we know the knowledge behind what is happening, not just what somebody's posting somewhere, right? Something happens to a family, people call me all the time. It's like, oh, Sandra, this has happened with CPS. Okay, how do we navigate this? I made that intentional decision to be involved in it. How many of us go to our local, I think I was talking to PF a couple of weeks ago. We had the mayor's had an address in the city where I live. How many of us even know when those things are happening? We just want to, we come in, we are working, and it's fair because we're trying to go the upward mobility of economics, but politically we have to get involved and we have to be aware of our surrounding. This is a different system from what we're used to from Nigeria, most African countries, but we have to be plugged in to be able to make sure that we have the right information and the right knowledge to be able to navigate these new spaces that we're in.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sandra. While you were talking, one thing that, my mind still went back to is the fact that we always feel like time is going or time has gone. But then, what is the importance of documentation in this situation? How can we regulate our emotions and maybe improve our communication styles? Because I see that even though we are effective as people, as Africans, we are effective, but in terms of communication, we may be kind of neutral to some degree. So when engaging in schools, I remember I saw a post on social media where somebody was talking about how even though as Africans we're very communicative in expressing ourselves when we are together, but when you go into different spaces, we kind of tend to be mute. So what is the role of being able to document some things or regulate our emotions or improve our communication style when engaging with, whether when we go to these meetings or go to schools or go to even in the healthcare system or social services?
Well, the first thing, it goes back into being involved, right? How many of us on this call, how many of us are part of the PTAs of our school, of our children's schools? That is important. You have to be part of the people that make the rules as to what your children is being taught. Do you go to those meetings? Are you part of those committees? That's the first part. And in terms of communicating when we get there or even engaging, it's something that you have to be very intentional about, right? It's just like we all go to work, right? We make the schedule to go to work because we're intentional about it, because we figure out at the end of the day, there's a check coming from there. So this too has to take that amount of intentionality, being involved, and to documenting. You have to be able to be the one, and I say this, you are your child's first and only advocate. The system is not there for you. They have a process, they have a system, but you have to advocate for your child. It's like going to the doctor. I have a child, for the longest, he had these issues, and every time I took him to the doctor said, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. I'm his parent. I'm the one living with him 24/7, and I knew something was wrong. My child ended up in the ICU with RSV virus when he was barely 4 months old. That boy almost died. But the only reason why that happened was because I was insistent on those symptoms he was having. I had to advocate for my kid. Does that mean that the doctor was wrong? Possibly not. The doctor sees hundreds of children every day. It was just another case of a child that was sickly at the time, but there was something more profound than just being a sickly child. So why am I saying this? Documents, have family systems. I say this a lot. If you do not have a family system that is for your family may sadly become part of the system in the US. Abroad happens to people, just we say Nigeria happens to people, abroad happens too. And we see that all the time. We don't want to get into a situation where we're so caught up on trying to feed them. Our goal is to make sure they're surviving. We have the food, we have the shelter, we have the clothes. But at the end of the day, you win a battle and you lose the war. The war is your children. So if you really look at it in that big picture, I think that would kind of give us a different process of how we kind of see it as not just, oh, they're in America now, they go to school. When we're going to school in Nigeria, we're worried about kidnappers and all of this stuff. So we're very protective of our children. So then why do we come here and just think that it's okay because they get on the bus and they go to public school? Or they go to school, there's light and water. Why do we not have that much amount of level of intentionality that we do protecting them from where we're bringing them from? And then think about it. It's like taking the fish out of water. Most of these children, and I'm saying this a lot now. When my son was younger, we used to say, oh, when you do something bad, we'll take it to Nigeria. That boy told me a couple of weeks ago, he's almost 17 now. He was like, do you realize that you used to threaten me when I was a kid that take him to Nigeria? The kids that came from Nigeria now are worse off than the ones who were born here. And that was it was like a light bulb in my head. And why do we think so? Most of these children came from privileged background in Nigeria. You bring them here now, and they don't know what the real world looks like. And another big thing that is happening now is a lot of us are not going to the troubled community. We're living in the high-end communities when we bring our children over here, right? And the problem with those things are, it's not gangs, it's drugs, because those children can actually afford it. They are affluent kids living in affluent neighborhood that our children are mingling with, so they have drug issues. They have all of this other stuff, and depends on what system you have in your home with your child, they may just get, because it's somebody's giving them something, they may just take it. So think about those and realize these are prized possession that we think that they are. Let us treat them as such. And it goes back into parenting. That is the core of it. Marriage may fall apart. There's nothing you can do as adults. But those children, even if that happens, let us prioritize those children at the end of it and put our own personal ego aside, our own disagreement aside, to make sure that those children that were put in this situation that they were not asked to be put in become the priorities of both parents, because they need both parents. They do need both their father and their mothers to be able to figure out what to navigate what's in this environment that they're in.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I like that. I'd like to just, highlight what you said. At the end of the day, you don't want to win the battle and lose the war. I'm so glad that this is being recorded, so we can just go back and, make reference to a lot of things that have been said. I would hand over back to PF at this point. Thank you so much, Sandra.
Does anyone have a question for Sandra before she goes? Maybe we can take one or two. Maybe you can raise your hand or you can put a question on the chat box. Anyone at all listening? You have a question for Sandra? Hey, Toro, you're raising your hand. You can unmute.
Yeah. Hello, Sandra. Thanks for everything, the conversation. Thanks, PF. Thanks, everyone. My question is, you made mention about appearance in school, in terms of maybe a divorce situation. Now, what would you say? Two questions in one. What would you say when the situation has already happened and the kids, the record is already in the school that the kids are divorced? And if you don't have that, how does that affect the child for negative, or how do you mitigate that if it's already happened?
Well, that's a very great question. And well, before I even got into CPS, when I was in undergrad, I actually did a work study, because that's something you do in the US, because I went to college here, where when you're in school, they pay you to work, right? And in that work study, I was sent to inner city in Columbus, Ohio. I was sent to the inner city public school to go and teach. I was a teacher's aide. There was a story, there was a child there that child, this is way back, probably like 15 years ago, Yeah, about 15 years ago at this time. And that thing stuck in my head. There was a child that was in kindergarten. I was an assistant to the teacher in kindergarten, and the boy came in there, and I remember Miss Brown, which was the teacher. The boy was very hyperactive, like a 5-year-old would. And the thing she said was, "Oh, I need to talk to his mom so she can go put him on medication because he's acting out." Because mom was a child raising a child at that time as well, she did what the teacher told her, because that was what was going to keep her child out of trouble in school. And I remember vividly, that boy went from 0 to 100. They put him on all of those anti-meds for anxiety and ADHD med. That boy became a zombie the entire time. Now, back to your divorce stuff. Why am I bringing up this story? When a teacher, I used to sit in the teacher staff room then, and a teacher would tag a child in kindergarten as a problem child. Teachers will have conversations. By the time he goes to the next grade, guess what? The other teacher already heard. They don't even give that child a chance anymore. And this is what happened with scapegoating of children. Now, for the divorced kids, a child has a bad day at school. Oh, well, it's because his dad is not in the home. But guess what? Johnny that has his mom and dad at home, Johnny is acting a fool in the class. But guess what? Johnny is not a problem, right? But the other child that doesn't have one parent in the home due to divorce is already labeled. So he becomes the scapegoat. And it's over and over and over. So now how do we mitigate this? It depends on the circumstances of your divorce, right? And as much as you can, and I always say, the Bible says, as much as you can, be at peace with all men, right? Try to mitigate the information that you share with the school. That's what I would say. Dad, when and I'm filling out my children's education stuff, my son just moved to school now. Mom and dad is in there. Both informations are in there of how, but our address is the same address, right? They don't need to know that dad and I have been divorced for 5 years. That is not their job. And when we have stuff you have to go to the school, hey, is running something at school. If you're able to make it, as much information as they need to weaponize against that child. That's what I'm trying to make. As much of it. Because it's sad. And back to Pia saying, oh, African marriages are falling apart. That's not true. That data is skewed. But the problem is the most people that are crying the loudest are the people online. And because their stuff didn't work out, now is everybody's getting a divorce. Look in your community. A lot of people are happily married, but those are not the loudest speakers in the room, right? So then we now take that narrative and then you take it to school, and this child now is being scapegoat. A child that is already dealing with mom and dad not in the same home. Does that child really need to be bullied at school by the teachers as well? Let's call it what it is. Do they need to be scapegoat? The child is already dealing with a lot of stuff already at home. Going to school should be another added trauma to his life or her life? Absolutely not. So as parents, let us try as much as we can, take our own family issues out of the school and deal with it within the house and say, hey, I know we're not getting along, that's fine. But when it comes to our child's school, let us have a united front and deal with it that way. And that way, the child will actually have a fighting chance. That's I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Sandra. Any other question before we go back and wrap up? Okay, looks like there's no other question. Thank you very much, Sandra, for that insightful. At least we know what to do right now. And one thing that you said that really stuck with me is this labeling. They are quick to say it's because mommy and dad are not together. That's why. But then the ones who mommy and dad is together, they are in serious whatever, and then they don't say. Okay, AB is raising her hand. That will be the final question. Yeah, AB, can you unmute?
It's not really a question. It's more like a contribution on what Sandra said. I've got a friend that is a teacher, and I'm calling from from UK. In UK here, before they go to the next class, they actually introduce them to the next teacher of the next class. And most of the time, by the time they're going to the next class, the teacher from the previous year have actually had some discussion about each child with the new class that the child is going. So already, the new teacher that is going to teach your child already has one or two information about that child. So the area we try to manage information that school have about our children, the better for us as parents, and also from people from Black ethnic minority group. That is something that I noticed from day one. And also whatever information that they've already had about a child, when the sibling comes into the same school, the same information is also passed down. So it is now, if they start that comparison about the children, this one is like this one is like that. They've already had whatever it is at their mind before even the child is the next sibling that is coming is already judged before the child is known to the teacher. I don't know if I make sense from what I've said.
Yeah, perfect sense. Nice. Perfect. Okay, I think there's one person raising their hand again. Person is showing up as praise for. I don't know who that person is.
Yes, it's me. I'm not sure why my name is showing up as Pessoe. And I think there are some, as in we have about 5 people's names showing as Pessoe. PF, I'm not sure why you're replicating yourself like this on a Sunday afternoon. Sandra, thank you so much. My name is Onome anyway. That was really good. Even if I was going in and out because of stuff happening at home. I just want to I want to ask, so how do you deal? Maybe I didn't hear, maybe you talked about it, but I don't know. Because what the last speaker just said happened to me just last session. It was just 5 days into school, and the teacher was already complaining, and she was asking me to come in for a meeting. And honestly, what the last speaker said was what I told the teacher. And I told her, I honestly spoke to her very rudely. I'm really sorry. Not to, as in like just telling you what I did, because I told her, I said, you are not even patient. This is the 5th day of school, and you are already telling me this, and I told her what you should have done. So it looked like I schooled her. And then she wasn't, she wasn't happy at all, and she reported, to the principal. But at the end of the day, in the meeting, the principal agreed with, like 80%, of what I said. How really should one, um, you know, um, have that conversation with the teacher? Because exactly what the last speaker said is exactly what I believe happened. The teacher from grade 5 already told the teacher in grade 6 that this is how this child is, this is what this child does, blah, blah, blah. What do you think is the best way to handle that? Probably I didn't handle it the right way.
The first thing that I would say is start an email thread and keep document. Going back to what the interviewer was asking me, document it. If it's not written, it didn't happen. That's what documentation is, right? So I had a similar incident last school year with my now almost 7-year-old. The teacher kept writing me emails about he did this, that, and the third. So every time she write an email, I would respond back. And eventually I said I wanted to sit down with her, and which you did, but I would have started with an emails first, so have a thread going. So in case, even if it gets back into the principal, you already have, something for you to take to them. Because it's sometimes when we're having conversation, is your word against theirs. And do you really think they're not going to throw their own on the bus? It's going to, you're always going to be the one that is at fault. And especially if you've had an incident with a child the year before. So what did I do in my son's case? I was writing emails to the teacher. She write me an email, I respond. And towards the end of the year, something told me the reason why she was doing something was she wanted to go call CPS on me. And what did my son do? The 6-year-old, one day, he has a 16-year-old brother, and he was going to school that morning and he wanted something. His brother said no. So he went to school and he said he was upset that he didn't like the way he was feeling. So the teacher asked him and he said, well, my brother said a bad word to me. And what was the bad word? The brother told him to shut up because he kept talking. If you know my 6-year-old, he can chat for Africa, right? He kept talking. His older brother was scolding him and saying to shut up. This lady, then she sent me an email. Oh, Israel feels bad because his brother said a bad word to him. I said, what was the bad word? And she said, shut up. I said, do you realize how sanitized my home is for shut up to be a bad word to a 6-year-old? And did you ask him why his brother told him that? And how many times was that? So it was a build up. If I didn't address that, and I told her this was toward the end of the school year, like I said, a build up from all the little things she was writing, and do not ignore those things. When they write an email, respond. Even though you don't agree or you disagree with them or agree with them, acknowledge it. Because another thing could be, oh, he's just one of those child that the parents are busy, he's just abandoning the school. So then your child becomes the scapegoat for them. So when we had that meeting, and the first thing I called dad, I said, hey, this was happening, we need to be there. He was there that morning. We both got there at 8 o'clock in the morning to meet with the teacher. And when she was talking, I said, listen, these are all your emails all school year long. This has been a pattern, and I do not appreciate you trying to get into my family. If my son tells you he's feeling sad, did you ask him because his brother told him to shut up? Yeah. His brother is 10 years older than him, and maybe he was bothering his brother. Am I going to tell his brother not to say that word anymore? Absolutely. But I don't think it's enough for you to say he wants to hurt himself. He feels bad about himself because a 6-year-old is a toddler. Toddlers have temper tantrums. But another person would have felt like, I got an email from the school. The teacher said that my son wants to hurt himself. Now I'm in trouble. Do you understand how that conversation could have gone on other ways? So we have to start being responsive about our children. And and to be fair, the teachers, they're not bad people. Imagine a teacher that has 26 students to deal with. Do you really think she has the bandwidth to be dealing with one person over and over again? Possibly not. And that is where as parents, where we have to advocate for our children, because I hate for my child to be scapegoated in the classroom because the teacher is just frustrated and tired. by all the stuff she has to deal with. So documentation is important. Keep it, just have that email thread going. Keep it going. When it comes to the point where you have to pull in administration from the school, at least you already have a record of what is happening before you have to even get to the in-person talk with them.
Thank you. Am I able to say something again? Yes. I was also going to say that thank you so much, Sandra. I'm also going to add, concerning those email trails, when we are, going back and forth on those emails. For me, I really don't like email trails, but I have been told that it's good for documentation. And the reason why I do not like email trails is that emails for me are actually like WhatsApp chats, where you are unable to appreciate or know if the person is talking to you in a certain should I say the tone, the words. I rather sit, like in front of you. For example, that's why I always ask for a meeting. So one of the times I was called to say your son is bullying a person. So this is just to say that we need to have knowledge of what they are saying and to know that your definition and their definition is the same thing. I was called once to say your son is bullying somebody. I'm like, okay, can you please explain to me what happened? And he said he called the person a monkey.
Okay.
So, and I said, a black boy called another boy a monkey, and you call that bullying? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, have you heard other black children call themselves monkey? And, he said that he cannot say. I say, okay, just to let you know, I work with youths and I work with kids. They call themselves monkey. And I need you to please do, you can call black kids around in school and ask them questions. Just because that boy cried out to say, oh, this person called me a monkey, does not actually mean that it's a bad word. And that's not bullying. So I got into the dictionary and I explained to him, this is what bullying means. And he later said, okay, I agree. I agree. And I take back the word. Because the truth is that any meeting that they have with you, I'm sure we all know, they document it. Even if, you don't do email trails, they still document the meeting. So just in my presence, he took that from me. So just be able to defend yourself, defend your child, but also knowing the words that you're putting down on their documentation, making sure that those words actually, both of you agree on the definition. Just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I totally agree with what you just said. And I think this is where those email threads are very important. And I said that this is from my training, and probably in all of my work is always documentation, documentation, documentation. And anything is, if it's not documented, it did not happen. The conversation that you had with them, because another thing that I realized, our tone is very high pitched as Africans.
Correct.
Very high pitched. And even so you can go after the school, because I've been accused of that, of yelling at the teacher, right? Because I'm sitting there and of course, maybe based on the accusation that's been levied at my child, I'm a little bit more irate and irritated. Oh, you're yelling at the teacher. So that is why I try to refrain from talking to them as much as I can, because I rather, when you're reading through my email, my friends will always laugh at me and say, I'm very good at giving you the middle finger on an email professionally. Like if you read my email, I didn't curse you out, but if you had the mental wherewithal, you realize that I was telling you where you can go and jump off of. So you can write those out because it's important legally. And this is it. Those emails depends on how far something happens and how far that situation goes. Those can become evidence in court. So you need it. They're writing something down. When they're documenting that email, they're documenting the meetings you're having with them, right? Guess what? Now they're writing at their own point of view, not yours. Right? And like you said about the word,
Correct.
from their vantage point. So why would you want to be a sitting duck for that? That's how I wouldn't want to be. Because in my work, we've had emails that came in. Like I had to go to court to go and defend that in court. This is what the CPS worker said. Well, no, that's not what I said. This is what I wrote down. And goes back. My supervisor would say, if it was not documented, it never happened. So in-person things, they're writing things down, but you have no luxury of what is being written down about your family. So you need to have yours as well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sandra.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for answering the questions patiently, and thank you for all the questions. I mean, if anyone needs to reach out to you, is there like a contact information you could share just in case someone wants professional advice or consultation? I'll hand it over back to PF now.
Yeah, thank you very much,
Thank you so
Sandra.
much for your time, Sandra.
You can type your how they can reach you on the chat box, and then we will. Okay, I think she has a number there. Thank you very much, Sandra.
Thank you so
We
much.
really, really, really appreciate you. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly tidy this up, and if you have questions for me, you can ask. But just give me about 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes. I'll try and do it in 10 minutes. What do we need to do as a people if we are to really, really give our children a head start out here? That's what I am really, really bothered about. Right, and so I've shared with you what my mentor had shared with me on the odds that are against the African kids, and that has always again been against the Africans. Now, the question is, what do we need to do? And so I'll share four things, four tips, simple tips. They're not as simple, but it's something everyone can do, starting from their family. And I'll tell you what we are doing and how we can provide support for you. So the first thing is you need to re-engineer your identity through heritage-based systemization. So forget how complex the pronunciation of the words is, but just need to understand it. We need to, as a people, we need to build a collaborative family system. I mean, Sandra is here. I'm almost like a father to Sandra's children, for example, right? If they want to report their mom, they can call a family meeting, and I'm in the family meeting. Do you understand? Right? I think we still had one on Friday. That's the way, that's what we need to do, right? Your children must have someone in the African community they look up to, someone they can defer to, especially for those of us who are single parent led family. Maybe the person you divorced from is not available or maybe responsive to some of those things. You need to find a way around these things, right? Because the last thing you want is your child to be talking to some funny guy out there who is going to introduce them to drugs and what have you. And see, if your child can find someone they defer to, you are really, really blessed, right? Because that person can actually shape them, put them in shape. So enroll your children in Afrocentric mentoring programs. Anywhere you find mentoring program, please ensure that you get your children involved. Please check it out. We run one. We've had to revamp it. In fact, we had to shut it down and then start another one. I'll tell you why we started and not that thing entirely. Right? Teach your children from curated African hero curriculum. When many of us were growing up, we had the African avatar. And I think the fact that we live in America doesn't mean we should. I know the AI thing is there. I'm noticing that there are some animated African stories now on YouTube, like the wars in ancient Africa. They've animated them. They are already, I think it's African stories or something. It's on YouTube about the heroes, because these things your children can relate with them much more. When we're younger, we had, for those of us from the Yoruba speaking part of Nigeria, we had the tortoise and the wife, Yonibo. So every moral that we learned from the tortoise and the wife, Yonibo. Values or virtues around contentment, hard work, honesty, integrity. That was how we learned these things, right? And why you need those kind of things is because it also creates bonding. I think I tell people that as much as this telephone has helped us, the damage it has done, we may not be able to quantify it. In this, how it has, you can be in the house with your children and you are not talking. You are not communicating. Everyone is inside here. I was talking with a couple and then they were going to make a decision. And this part of the decision they made was that they will never take their phone inside their bedroom. That the moment we bring our phone inside our bedroom, then we brought other people into our bedroom. That was the decision they took. And I've been tracking them for like 4 years now. It's working for them, right? So teach from curated African hero curriculum. Because every time we teach about, the Bill Gates of this world, it makes our people look like we don't have any history of someone that was rich. Mansa Musa was the richest man that ever lived. He's an African. He was Emperor of Mali. as it were, right? And then celebrate family origins through more, do your monthly heritage night where they eat African, our food, our soups, our whatever it is. If you don't know, in fact, teach them how to cook it. Good thing is that the how to cook it is now on. Let them be proud of their Africanness, to know that this thing is not. See, my children have beats now, and I tell them the stories. They have the one we put on the net. I tell them stories around this thing, and I was telling someone, I said, 10 years ago, I probably would not wear this, or maybe 20 years ago. You know why? Because this was considered carnality, or this guy is considered an idol. Until I began to study history and I realized that this is Oba Iwari. That's one of the most innovative king Africa ever produced. But Christianity made me doubt this, made me become suspicious of it. So because when your children know that they are royalties, their identity comes, and there is nothing that keeps the child in check like the identity. To know that others can, I will not, because of who I am. Do you understand? So this is the first thing we need to do. Number two thing we need to do is to create a family operation system. You must have heard me. In fact, we ran a class for free in America every night, Friday night, for like 6 weeks, where I was teaching them how to set up some of these things, right? Create a family constitution. Whether you are parenting alone or you are with your spouse, create your family constitution. Let our children understand the value of rules and regulation. One of the things, I don't know how we managed to do this. All of us had household chores when we were growing up, didn't we? Right? You had, it's that you are washing, doing dishes, or you are mopping the floor. Then our house is now upside down, and then our children are doing nothing. They will even say that they are busy playing games. These are things we need. We need to let them understand that this is part of what makes us. And it's never too late, right, to have that conversation with them. I know that for some of us, it looks like you have indulged them. And because how do you have a 14-year-old, for crying out, a 15-year-old who doesn't know how to cook anything? That child is like 2 years away from college. What's going to happen when he gets to college, right? And so some of them, they only know how to spend. They don't know the value of work, right? And so you need to run monthly family board meeting, right? So create a project every month. This is the project you are going, no matter how little that one is, 6-year-old, this is what you're going to do this month. And you're going to make a presentation. I have a new book coming out, but it's not out officially. And so we're reviewing it every morning with my children. And so one of the chapters was talking about what you need to create, right? What needs have you met? So I gave them a task. Go and innovate something and come and make presentation. I gave them 1 week. By the time they came back, the presentations they were making was, in fact, me and my wife were just looking at them and say, okay, so how do we develop this thing now? Because we want to put money in it, right? Let them be comfortable, right? You see, you need to understand that the family is like running a company, it's like running a country. And so let them review projects, let them tell you challenges, the milestones. Let's not normalize mediocrity. Because the distraction this phone and game is giving to our children is making them feel like they can get by with whatever. So the ones that should be doing 100 are doing 70 and they are feeling cool because the class average is 65. And success is not what they have achieved, it's what they have achieved compared to what they could have achieved, right? So design family goals around, go and look for the sustainable development goals. Make sure that your family goals is around that and community impact. So that by the time the children are leaving the home, they have enough CV, enough projects executed that can go on their CV. You see, when the home becomes a think tank, the child becomes a nation builder, right? So let them become mayor from the house, right? Let them become the mayor of the house. You can rotate it. This week, you are the mayor of the house. What rules are you going to pass, right? You're going to constitute meeting. So Thursday night, we're going to come for council meeting in this house. These are things that we have to normalize because this is what the Jews do that we have not learned to do. Number 3, engineer strategic exposure and gateways to power. So let us target leadership incubators, coding boot camps, diplomacy camps, or model United Nations. I talked about that. Model United Nations, in fact, bring other people's children. Let them come and do diplomatic summit. United Nations Day of the African Child in your house. Let there be a parliamentarian. Let there be a senator. Let there be this and that, right? Let them move a motion and record it. It's fun, right? Mark out career mentorship tracks by age 7 and pair them up with power mentors. There are children I mentor in the diaspora right now, right? I'm talking to them. I mean, I have my leader in church is in Africa right now, but our 2 children are home, right? I'm checking on them. Whenever they are 10 times they tell their mom, Mom, we can't discuss this thing with you. We want to go and meet Uncle P. And then they're in my house and we're sitting down, what's going on? Okay, this and this and okay, this is how we're going to do this. And then they're reporting back to me. Attend policy meetings, council events, and global forums together as a family. So if you are living in a county, find out when the council meets. Let your children, it's boring, those sessions are very boring, right? But go. Because those boring things is where they determine the fate of our children in the future, and then we're not there. So go there, sit down, let your children get interested, let them get involved. Because you know that in Nigeria, for example, one of the greatest lies sold to Nigeria is that the destiny of the country is in the hand of the president. So that gives the governors a free pass, gives the senators free pass, House of Rep free pass, local government chairman, council, some people don't even know their local government chairman is. Meanwhile, the budget the local government chairman in Nigeria is controlling is insane, right? And so let us get involved. It might be tough, but you see, once you begin, do you know right now, if I ask all of you, how many of you have a child who already has aspiration to become a mayor? Anybody? Can you type I? The child already told you, when I grow up, I'm going to become a mayor. Right? Let me see if there's anybody. Because those are, okay, good. I'm loving this. Because many of our children are not, they want to become doctor. They want to go for nursing. They want to go and they want to take the path we have taken, which has not given us power. Right? And so it's because we have not introduced them to the value. And the thing we need to understand is that this system is rigged. The school counselor is not your child's friend. You need to understand this. Sometimes the counsel they give you will know. They will tell the child who is good in sports, to focus on sports. You are very good in this, specialize. So when he specializes in sports, he loses appetite for academics. The people that will collect his tax and send him to jail they are in class. Right? And so and that's why we need more of our people within the system. We need to understand this thing. So when a child is telling you, this guy just wrote a book now, $10, and he says, school was not my thing, and I dropped out. And so some of the young people are, we can drop out. But the guy dropped out, and he said his father gave him a loan of 250 million. Then, his father was the former governor of Lagos State, gave him a 250 million loan. So before you drop out, do you have a father and a mother? That Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard. The mother secured a $1 million loan. Then, so my mother said that a child that does not have a mother cannot be having wound at the back. Because if you have a wound, if you are injured in your back, there's nobody that's going to help you if your mother is not alive, right? And so let's invest in experiential education, travel, conferences, private talks. Let our children learn. I don't know if you notice these things about the Mexicans. If you ask a Mexican to come and do one job in your house, they can, and you say, let's say you say, come and help me fix my TV, hang my TV. Then you say your TV, your fridge has a problem, they can fix it. If you say they are multi-skilled. It's called survival skills. So if your child can learn carpentry, if they can learn automech, let them go for apprenticeship, as it were. It's going to help, but let them also show up in the parliament. And number 4, which is the final thing I'll talk about, then I'll take question, is create a wealth and legacy pipeline. Build a transgenerational wealth and legacy pipeline. So for some of us, build trust or legacy fund, and let every family create a family business. This is what Indians have thrived at, family business. What is your family business? Right? If what you are doing is to buy vegetable or help people buy, let the children follow you there. Let them see how you price. Let them, because some of these children, they don't know the value of work. They don't even know how hard that we are dying to actually help them smile. They are not aware. When you are broke, let them know that things are tough, right? And then let us pray. I mean, one time, I think I was flat broke. Right? And then I had a conversation with my children to say, see what my business is very bad this month, right? And then the following day, devotion. I was so tired because I was walking through the night. And then when it was morning devotion, because I'm in America, they're in Canada, I joined via Zoom. And I fell asleep. When I woke up, you know what they were doing? They were taking turns to pray for each of my projects. Right? And that day, one of the projects came true. So the following day, I was sharing a testimony with them. And then my son says, oh, probably this is the first time I'm asking God for something and he did it. Right? That experience, let's not behave like Superman. Oh, we don't have problem, we don't cry, we don't, let them know that it's not okay sometimes, right? Because they can understand. So family trust legacy, teach wealth creation to kids, including getting them involved in a family business. If bits is what they can make, if it is cookies, my daughter used to make cookies that they can make. Let them learn the value of money. My son followed me for one speaking engagement. He was the one on the book stand. I told him how much I'm going to pay him, but I told him the target. If you eat this, whatever, this is what you're going to get. Right? And so I paid the guy $50. And then he was like, no. Told the mom, said, no, dad should have paid me $100. I looked at his mouth, $100. That's what you just call like that. Right? Okay. Assign family roles for legacy projects and personal development. So let the children assign roles. Okay, this week you are the mayor of this family. Do you know what mayors do? Go study. Right? This is the rule of the family. You have to enforce it. Usually, when I want to appoint a leader over a project in the family, I appoint the one that is likely not going to do it. I know the one that is likely not going to do it. So she becomes the leader to enforce it. And once she becomes the leader, she has to do it. So you take personal responsibility and let there be consequence for non-compliance, right? Don't just gloss it over and say, okay, it's okay. There's another whatever. Number 3, collaborate to create alternative schools, media channels, and cultural events. We need to come together and do things together. Let's always find a way for our people. Many of our people are stuck right now in America. We're finding an alternative way for them to have their papers legalized. That's what we're doing. We're checking all the legal requirements, what exactly is needed. I was happy when 2 of them called me yesterday to say, oh, Praise, we have our green card. I was very excited, right? So there are ways. Sometimes because of, I've never turned back any Black person or any African person because they can't afford my services, right? I will do the little, even if it's all I can do is clarity session, I will do it, right? But I will never turn people back, as it were. When we're doing Ready for Life, there are parents who couldn't sustain their payment, right? And then my teachers will say to me, no, the admin will say, this person has not paid. Should we kick their children out of class? I said, no, don't kick their children out of class. After all, when they had money, they were paying, right? So don't kick them out because they can't pay. Let the children, for the children's sake, because this is much more than what they can pay, right? We're not even making any profit from it, really. But we need to do it. And that's why I have to appreciate people like Nene. Nene has mentored several children. Onome is somewhere here. Onome has mentored, in fact, she's still mentored. Some of the children are bonded with them. So normalize collective and tribal intelligence and collaboration. So let me end this. The Bible says that, oh, how blessed are your parents? Are you parents with your quavers full of them, children? Your enemies don't stand a chance against you. You will sweep them right off your doorstep. See, the future of our children, they may have American passport, Canadian passport. They are in America, they are not of America. They need to know that, right? The system loves you when you are useful to the system. The day you mess up, then that's where the day that the system will remind you that your skin is different, right? And so as we are building here, and because we have to take position here, as parents, let's not forget to also build in Africa, right? Let's not forget that. No matter how much Africa has hurt you, that's where you have a legal standing. That's where you have an ancestral standing. And let your children know, right? The world has never seen what is possible when African parents in diaspora stop surviving and start building. And so we need to start exchanging notes, exchanging ideas. If we find an opportunity, let's pull ourselves up. Now, finally, before I take questions, what we have decided to do, we used to do Ready for Life. Ready for Life, we shut it down. It's no longer existing. And I'll tell you why we shut it down. We shut it down because we realized that the curriculum was limiting. What we wanted to do with Ready for Life was to just teach basic values, so that, I mean, we didn't want to teach academic subjects and stuff. And so what we've done now is to create what we call Legacy House. And if you are interested, it's for ages 7 to 17, 3 different classes, right? I'll take your questions. Don't worry if you have any questions for me. Legacy House is built around the acronym Legacy. So it's a combination, it's a 3-in-1 curriculum that we've just come up with. It would combine African history with faith and with science. Right? So it's going to be African history. So it's going to be basic and advanced program, 12 weeks, rather than what we used to do before, which is around the year. It's going to be 12 weeks, then they go and do a field work, then they come back for advanced, and they take their badges, and we're done. Now, we're going to learn moral values. They're going to learn African history. They're going to learn the leadership, thinking, strategic thinking, sexuality, and a whole lot of things in there. They're also going to learn faith, as it were. They will learn how to pray. They will learn how to be responsible, how to respond online live, what is happening, what to watch out for. And so they're going to be mentored by many of our strategic mentors over that period. Then once a month, because it's 12 weeks, that's 3 months, once a month we'll have a parent forum where we're going to feed you back on what is going on with your children in the class they're in, what's happening with them, what you need to watch out for, and if you have any question, you'll be able to work with your mentors. And within those 3 months, if anything is happening that is not clear, you have direct speed dial to your mentor, to your child's mentor, and then they can help you resolve whatever the issues are that we're having. Now, you can use the scan code. You can scan it and go on the website. You will see everything is listed. You will see the various rooms. So we have a class for ages 7 to 10. We have a class for 11 to 13. Then we have a class for 14 to 17. Right? The younger classes will hold on Saturday. It starts on September 20. So you still have time. But the other 2 classes we hold Sunday evening. Right, Sunday evenings from the 21st of September, right, across 12 weeks. After that, they will go for a field walk. They will design projects, change projects, which actually should count for them on their CV eventually. We're very intentional about it because we're collaborating with families. So please, it's available. It's $100 per month. Right, that's the cost. It's $100 per month. If you have 2 children, there's some kind of discounts available, but I will strongly recommend this to your children. So you can take a snapshot. It's praisefulwordtech.com/superstars. Basically, what we're doing is preparing our children for the future in the diaspora. We're literally going to mentor them so that they're proud of the African heritage. They know that they belong to God and God loves them, which takes care of their moral values and everything. And then they are very, very scientific in their approach. So they know this neuroscience approach to things and how systems work and how they can interact with the systems. Different curriculum. If you go on the site, you can literally download the curriculum for each of the classes. Now, when you sign up or register, we're going to ship a workbook, okay? It comes with a workbook as well. We're going to ship the workbook for your child to wherever you're living. It will be shipped to you. You'll get it. And then your child will come to class. It's 90 minutes every week. And then we'll give you a report of what is happening with your child. Okay, I think that is where I draw the curtain. Course outline is there. So if you get on just scan the code, get on the website, click your child's class. You will see at the top the course content. If you click it, it will drop down, and then you can see all the things. It's like Legacy House is like boys and girls house concept, but it's virtual. Yeah, they're going to learn African soups, how to cook, and all those things. Basically, it's like where your support parents. Basically, that's what we're doing. So every mentor is trained to take every child as their child, right? So they're going to be checking on them, finding out what they're doing, and feeding you back and providing support for you. One of the things we found out in one of the classes was a boy. They were having a session, and they were asking them for their greatest aspiration, and the boy said his aspiration was to kill his father. Right? They actually been saving money to buy a gun. he was only waiting for him to clock 16 and buy a gun, that the first thing he wants to do with that gun is to blow off his father's head. They discovered that in one of the sessions. And so we had to do a sit down with father and son. And then apparently the way the man was treating his mother, he didn't like it. And he felt powerless. So what he had taken a decision to do was to buy a gun. This happened in America. I was the one that sat with the dad, and the dad could actually vouch that his son would never do that because everything the boy asked for, the father was giving him. But then he didn't know that the boy was warehousing the trauma of his mom. And they all live in the same. So when people say, oh, you know, couples who live together, they are the best. A lot is happening. It's my 25 years in this sector, so I know, right? So that said, the two posters are the same, actually. It's the same, right? They're just different posters. So that will be all from our end. So you can go in there, fill your child's details on the site. When you pick your child's class, you would see the various classes. We have trailblazers, we have trailblazers, innovators, and we have visionaries. Okay, so that's it from my end. I'll take your questions, but Onome, are you there? Where is Onome? Onome, are you there?
Yes, PF.
Onome, do you want to just quickly do a summary of the work you've done with some of the children in mentoring?
Okay, it has been an amazing 3 to 4 years now. Yes. Well, I teach the children ages 10 to 12, just the pre-teens. And it's honestly, it has been amazing. Like, we've had amazing feedbacks. We do a lot of learnings on you know, our Africa lineage. Sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. We've done a lot of talk with that. We've done basic life skills too. And really, we have a lot of testimonies, you know, kids talking about how they went through several challenges in school and how they came out of them, you know, as winners. We've had children who we've been able to bring out their creative genius. And for me, that's exciting. For one, in my class, she's a writer and she does amazing well. Just, you know, several huge, you know, testimonies like that, and we're super proud of it. We have kids who do not talk at all. Like, they don't talk to their parents, they don't talk to anyone online, you know, they are always, you know, quiet and to themselves. And we've had great testimonies of them, you know, coming out. You know, just check out our parents' testimonies. You see how much, you know, the Ready for Life have done a great job. But now that we are switching over to Legacy House, I am so excited. So I invite you. It's been an amazing time. Thank you, Pierre.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, any question for me, please, before we shut down? The recording will be sent to you for everyone who signed up for this, who registered. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can I take questions? Nene? How do you get the recording to share with your spouse? If you registered for the session, we will send the link to you to play. You should get that within the next 24 hours. And yeah, and if you didn't sign up, just tell the person that invited you, they will get across to you. Yeah. Any other question based on what I've shared before we go tonight? But I want to appreciate all of you that showed up. It shows that our community is growing, that we're giving to knowledge. The best way to create the future is to predict the future is to create it. And that's what I believe we're going to do. Onome, yes. What's your question?
It's not a question. I just want to add, you know, something for some parents. I mean, like on Saturday, our class was trusting your parents. And honestly, you needed to hear, you know, kids who, you know, thought that their moms hated them. It was like a sigh of relief. Oh, I thought my mom hated me. Oh, I thought my mom hated me. You know, that was for me, that Saturday was a very comforting and fulfilling time. So these are the things that we actually do, you know, for these kids, because sometimes when you try to discipline them, they don't understand, you know, but when they hear from someone else, they know. Oh, I mean, like, I was so excited when one of them said, oh, I thought my mom hated me. Thank you, Auntie. So that's also part of, you know, what we do. It's amazing. Please sign up. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other question based on what I shared, please? You have any question before we go? Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Toro.
I was going to ask, when you talk about home projects, What kind of projects can you mentioned 7 and upwards? What kind of project can you give kids, within the home setting that gives them that accomplishment and they can have as a CV?
So, for example, I mean, if you 7-year-olds might need to be super. You can't put what 7-year-old. What 7-year-old is doing has to be within the house. But if you have children who are probably, older, right? So, for example, they can teach other kids within the neighborhood, certain life values, right? And so you need to find age appropriate. There are so many of them that you can do. For example, when my children were when my son was 8, I was teaching him about world changers. And I say to him that world changers, when they get to a place, they make the place better than they met it, right? And so every time I walked into the house and anyways looking out of order, I would scream and I would shout, "Is there a world changer here?" And it's a world changer. It just shows up like a Superman and he quickly goes to fix it. So I was doing that. By the 3rd week, I got into a room and the room was upside down. I said, "Is there a world changer here?" He said, "Daddy, I don't want to be world changer again." I don't want to be world changer again. I resigned. So I asked him why. He said, "Dad, world changer has a lot of work to do." So I had to sit him down and teach him the value of responsibility and how leadership works, right? Because I knew that was going to happen. But you see, it's become highly responsible. When he got to mid school, right, he did a lot of projects that he had to win the Spirit of the School award, right? And so I honorably resigned. So those are things that you can get them to do, but also create a reward, right? I think when he was 11, he was distributing newspapers. He was distributing newspapers. He would use his bike. In fact, he earned $20 per week. And so when he earned this money, I asked him, "Oh, Dave, let's go for ice cream." He was so excited. I said, "But you're going to pay." He said, "That pay? How?" He said, "That I literally died to earn this $20. Why would I want to spend it on ice cream?" Oh, I said, "Oh. So what do you think I've been doing to spend money on ice cream and all these things you want to buy before now?" So he understood that it's not easy to make a honest dollar because he knew what, for 1 week, $20 to distribute newspapers, right? So those are little projects and then if you are going to a church, there's a lot they can do, right, in church that can go on their CV, like monitoring other kids. If they are older, they are volunteering in choir, volunteering in some of these places. There's a way you package it, that doesn't look like a church, but they're volunteering, all right? Do you know that if you are leading a WhatsApp group, for example, you are leading a tech hub? That's a language in your CV. You are leading. If you have 100 people on your WhatsApp, you have you are leading a tech hub of 100 upward mobile people who are trying to change the world. Yeah, that's it. But many of us just say, "I'm leading some of you have 1,000 people on your WhatsApp group, but it's not on your CV, right?" That's what you are doing, because for them to have phones and for them to be able to function on WhatsApp, that's a tech hub. So that's some of the things you can do. Any other question? I think I've enjoyed this meeting. Is the time suitable for children in the UK? The younger class is suitable. The younger class is for ages 7 to 11. Is suitable for children in the UK. But we would see the numbers. If we have numbers in the UK, we'll start a time that is appropriate. We have facilitators in the UK, as well. So we can start the one that's appropriate for your children in the UK. Yeah. Okay, I think I saw one, and the ages 7 to 9, ages 7 to 11, 7 to 10, sorry, is on Saturday morning. So UK people, that time is appropriate for wherever you're living in. It's the Sunday one, which is for ages 11 to 13, then 14 to 17 is the one that holds Sunday evening in North American time. But hey, we can always make something work for you. Take time zone into consideration. Yeah, UK, yes. We will make that happen for you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. No question. I think we are done for today. But guys, we're going to do this together. We're going to win this together. You already know the script. And so every time you see the script, we have to bypass it. So we'll try, and when Legacy House starts, we will try and do a monthly knowledge sharing of what we are discovering. I'm discovering a whole lot of new things that I think our children need to be very, very intentional. And I think that the data they are peddling is rigged against our children. Very rigged. They are only waiting for another one to align with whatever they have rigged. And I don't think we should fall into that. So thank you very much for joining us. Nene, I hand over back to you as you close out the meeting.
Thank you so much. This was 2 hours well spent. If you agree with me, please just say yes. This was 2 hours well spent. Thank you so much. So we don't want to take any more of your time. I think the link has been shared in the chat box. Mary Jane, could you please share the link again? Someone is asking, can we pay Naira equivalent?
I don't know. We can make it work. We can find a way around that. Yeah, it's designed for, we'll find a way around it.
Okay. All right. So please, I would appreciate if you could, I mean, we would also share the recording and it will have the details and the flyer as well. For everyone that's registered for the session, you would get the recording and the flyer, the information about the curriculum, and I mean, the outline and the classes is going to be in that when you click the QR code, okay? And I think that would be all for now. We're just at the 2 hour mark. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you all in class on the 20th and 21st of September. Bye.
Bye.